What's up, guys? This is Endemic. I want to give you guys a quick rundown on my talents, honor talents, and artifact power distribution before the arena season starts next Tuesday. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Right here on my first tier talents, I went with Overpower. Overpower is really good. It's really effective. It's a big hitter. It almost always crits, and coupled with like a Mortal Strike crit or Colossus Smash crit, you can really start dropping people fast with it. Dauntless is also pretty good, but for the most part I'm going to be using Overpower. So let's jump to the second tier. Right here, you can either go with Shockwave or Stormbolt. Focus Stormbolt is always awesome, but I'm using Shockwave for now. On the third tier, you can do either Rend or Avatar. Now, Avatar is amazing for burst. I'm going to be using it quite a bit this season. Burst is king in arena, so I'll be using that quite a bit. It also removes all roots and snares, so that's pretty effective. I will be going with Rend most of the time, though. That's about 10% of somebody's health, consistent damage. I'm a big fan of it. Right here, this next tier, defensive stance is king in my opinion. I'm almost always going to be using defensive stance. Bounding Stride is okay, and Second Wind is very situational. You're only going to be using it if you can escape your opponent or they ignore you for 5 seconds, which is pretty rare. So defensive stance for sure on that one. For the next tier talents, I went ahead and went with In for the Kill. I'll be using that in most scenarios because you're going to generate rage from your Mortal Strike. So basically generate 20 rage when used against targets that are below 20% health. So you hit the target with that, and then your very next hit can be a pretty big execute. So that can be pretty effective. Mortal Combo. Mortal Strike now has a maximum of 2 charges. That's very good too. That one right there, you can do so much burst. If you pop Rallying Cry, spam some Mortal Strikes, Colossus Smash, you can do so much burst with that. And then another one that's a pretty good honorable mention is Focus Rage. A lot of people have been using this in both PvE and PvP. This one's really good for building up your Mortal Strike damage and just hitting somebody big. And I do recommend that one. I might be testing it out a little bit more. But for now, I'm just sticking with In for the Kill. I think it's pretty effective at taking a target down whenever they're low. Now the next tier, you can either go with Deadly Calm or Trauma. Now, Trauma's pretty good since I'm not using Focus Rage. Since I'm not using Focus Rage, I'm using Slam more, and that bleed is pretty effective at, over 6 seconds. You have your Trauma up, your bleed from that. You have your Rend up, and then your Colossus Smash can also do a dot, which I'll talk about in the honor talents in a minute here. Deadly Calm is also really useful. You reduce the rage cost, spam some Mortal Strikes, do some massive burst. I highly recommend Deadly Calm too, but for now I'll be sticking with Trauma. Another, I do not recommend Titanic Might. Increases the duration of your Colossus Smash by 16 seconds, but reduces its effectiveness by 20%. Now you have a lot of abilities, such as Tactician. They're going to reset your Colossus Smash cooldown. So increasing the duration to 16 seconds isn't going to be as effective as it sounds, especially because it's also reducing the effectiveness by 20%. So it's a big trade-off, and I wouldn't recommend taking this one. And the same goes for Ravager. Not a fan. So last year I picked Opportunity Strikes. It's basically an RNG trigger that'll deal some damage whenever the target is low. That one's pretty good. I'm a big fan of that one. But another one that's pretty good too is Anger Management. Every 10 rage you spend reduces the remaining cooldown on Battle Cry by 1 second. So more Battle Cries, more crits, more burst opportunities. So that one is also pretty damn awesome. So let's go ahead and check out the honor talents now. So for the first tier, I went with Relentless. So as a human, we get every man for himself. So on top of that, we're also getting a 25% reduction in CC. So I mean, that's pretty cool. And then right here, Adaptation I also think is kind of cool. The only problem with it for me has been I have like a reflex that I will like it's hard to get used to because I always auto trinket everything anyways. So it's kind of you have to get used to it. So the second tier is between reinforced armor and sparring. Now with the amount of melee in the game, in my opinion, like sparring, I've been using that a lot more. Physical melee attacks have a 20% chance to be blunted, dealing 50% reduced damage. So with all the demon hunters, rogues, and just melee in general, I like sparring more at the moment. But reinforced armor is also good too. 10% extra health. I mean, who can beat that? So the next tier is between Blood Hunt and Death Sentence. Now, I really like Blood Hunt because your movement speed is increased by 15% whenever somebody's in execute range, and all snares are suppressed for at least 5 seconds, so that's pretty huge. I've also noticed that even after I execute my target, I still have the movement speed buff, so that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't last very long after an enemy dies, but it does last sometimes. And then there's Death Sentence. Now, this one right here I'm having trouble getting used to. It's going to take me a little bit to get used to, and that is execute now has a 15-yard range. So whenever they get to execute range, it's really like it's hard for me to get used to executing like that, like executing at a range. So I mean, it's definitely a good one though. I definitely do recommend this one. The next one right here is pretty interesting. Rage Machine is amazing. Non-periodic attacks against you generate 5 rage. I'd recommend using that one. It's really cool. But for me, I'm addicted to Spell Reflection. Raise your shield, reflecting all spells cast on you for 3 seconds. I'm such a big fan of that one that I will most likely almost always be using Spell Reflection. For the next tier, Intercept is good. Shadow of the Colossus resets the cooldown on your Colossus Smash. But the best one right here for me, and for most compositions, Pain Train reduces the cooldown of Battlecry by 15 seconds, and Battlecry now also affects all nearby allies. I think they did nerf it a little bit, but still, giving your allies bonus crit is pretty dang amazing. So let's go down to the last tier. I went with Echo Slam. Colossus Smash deals an additional 10% of the target's total health and damage 2.5 seconds later. It's basically like a whole nother dot that ignores armor. And it does some pretty amazing damage. I highly recommend that one. You're also going to want to... I've been testing Sharpened Blade a little bit. This one is amazing. When activated, your next Mortal Strike will deal 30% increased damage and reduce healing by 70% for 4 seconds. This one is a huge finisher. It's only a 45-second cooldown, and basically that target is getting almost next to no healing, so I highly recommend that one. I will be testing this one out frequently to see how effective it is, but it is amazing. So let's go ahead and go over to my artifact power. So right here I went a very non-traditional build. If I could have did it over again, I would have taken another route. So right here is where you're going to make the big choice to either go this way or that way. I would definitely go this way. Increases your damage by slam, and then you're going to want to go straight up and get exploit the weakness. Now this one's major. Tactician's chance to trigger is increased as if you spent 10% more rage. So that's more of a chance for your Colossus Smash to be reset, which is amazing. And then Shattered Defense is what you're going for here. After using Colossus Smash, your next Mortal Strike or Execute gains 30% increased critical strike chance and deals 30% additional damage. So yeah, like let's say you crit on your Overpower and then you crit on a Mortal Strike right after, or an Execute. I mean, that is some major burst, and that is like one of the most major talents you can pick right now. It's the most important one you can get, in my opinion. So then you're going to turn around and you're going to head this way, Tactical Advance, Precise Strikes, and then you're going to get Corrupted Blood of Zakaz. For 5 seconds after activating Battle Cry, your weapon radiates shadow energy, causing all of your attacks to deal an additional 20% damage as shadow over 6 seconds. So that's pretty major. So not only are you getting a 100% extra crit, but you're doing 20% extra damage, which most likely ignores armor since it is shadow damage. So after that, you're going to go down, and you're going to get your whirlwind damage buff. And then this is the next talent that I'm getting, and this one is huge. Increases the damage dealt by Colossus Smash by 25%. So I mean, like all these things, they're going to reduce the cooldown or reset the cooldown in your Colossus Smash. It's going to do more damage. It's going to do more burst. The route that I took, I kind of regret, but what can you do? I went this way. I went ahead and got defensive measures. While your Die by the Sword is active, the damage taken is reduced by an additional 5%, which puts it at 35%. So that's pretty good. So pretty nice defensive ability that I took. And then what I figured I was going to do was the Touch of Zakaz right here. It says it heals you for 9% of the damage you deal with Mortal Strike. It says 12% because I have a relic, but it doesn't heal me for very much. It only heals me for about 15,000. So in my mind, whenever I was going through the talent trees, that one sounded really good because the only regen you have is Second Wind, and that's only if you choose it. So I figured, hey, we don't have any regen, so maybe that would be pretty effective. It's not that great. So if I could do it all over again, I would go this route. But the trade-off is I went this way. I got 30 more rage. That's also a relic to 40. And then when cleave strikes at least 3 targets, your weapon releases a burst of energy dealing 20,000 or so shadow damage to all nearby enemies. So that's really effective. But you're not going to be cleaving very often. There's not going to be 3 enemies nearby very often either. So that was just the trade-off that I took. But other than that, I mean, I would definitely just go this way, head around the top, and then come back, go this way, take that, take Colossus Smash, and then most likely come around this way, get the 30 Rage, and then go for Void Cleave, and then probably get these talents last. But yeah, that's just my opinion, guys. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time. Good luck this season in Arena.